Good morning, class, and happy Monday. We have a lot of things to cover in our updates, so I'm going to be reading from a script. We're moving away from the big questions and the curiosities that you guys shared in your first impressions last week, but I encourage you to get a leg up on our final essay, which will be written in a way in response to that op-ed. And you can do that by continuing to think through those first impressions, what you shared, what you read that others shared, and just be conversing casually with the people in your life in order to gain knowledge and perspective about the Vietnam War and its relevance for today. You can read different things, whether it's articles or a book. You can watch documentaries or YouTube videos, and you can attend places if there's any place for you to attend that would help you to just get inspired with original thoughts in response to this theme and topic. I'll encourage you more about this mid-quarter, but I think it's a good time to just mention it now. So for instance, I felt personally inspired and I felt my gears really turning after I read all of your guys' stuff. And so this weekend, for fun, and it was really good. I didn't feel like I was working. I listened to an audiobook called Kent State, and it was 2 hours long, and I got it through the library, just checked it out on my app and listened to that. I also was able to visit the Vietnam Wall traveling memorial. I think it was at Mount Solo Cemetery. One cool thing they did was they had a slideshow on the side of the semi-truck that carries the memorial place to place that they filter through and find any names on the wall where those people, those veterans, were registered to the local county or community, and then they play a slideshow of those individuals. So it made it very real to see images of young men. I think there are 8 women on the wall, but young men who lived in our place and lost their lives in the Vietnam War. So that's all that I have to say about that. Like I said, we're moving on. So just keep chewing on that stuff and we'll come back to it later. Yes. So about those intros and first impressions, I will go in and I will complete the rubric and post an actual grade in the grade book today. If you want to revise and resubmit that, if you got partial credit on anything, you have until Friday and you just need to email me. Unfortunately, this morning, I discovered something horrendous. 15 of you received a silent recording. And so I think that my mic in my campus office was off, and I'm devastated by that, and I'm going to try to squeeze in a redo of those. So if you're that person, send me an email. Be like, I want to do this, but I don't have your voice telling me what's up. So that's a thing. But in general, even if I gave partial credit, overall, overwhelmingly, I thought you guys did a nice job. I will say that I want to see more attention to the Commas resource. There isn't an official textbook for this course, and so when I provide you a link to those web resources, I think in total it's going to be less than 10 pages of web resources. Those are your textbook. I've spent years and years and years literally looking at our course outcomes, teaching, reflecting, figuring out, okay, how can I explain this better? And how can I keep it narrowed down? Like in the past, and maybe still today, but at LCC, if you were going to take an English course, you had to buy a handbook for writing that was hundreds of pages long. And I've tried to cut that down into a handful of web pages. So keep going back to that comma resource. Consider it like a textbook. But other than that, you guys are done with first impressions and intros. All right, let's talk about O'Brien Round 1, which is the discussion that you posted in last night. You were reading 2 short stories in this text, Good Form and How to Tell a True War Story. Those were, I believe, 150 words each, so 300 total thus far words. And you had to use SIP format, and you had to integrate some works cited, which I created for you to make this easier. For those of you who didn't post, remember that it's better in this course to submit something rather than nothing. And if that's not possible, then I encourage you to submit a request for an extension. I'm going to try to provide the link for that request at the bottom of assignments, the assignment instructions, and it will always be in modules. It's the same request no matter what the assignment is. So if you're like, what is she talking about? That means you need to re-review the syllabus. So go to the syllabus, grades and workflow, and read about the request for an extension. For those of you who did post, which is the majority of you, I'll be starting to read your first post later today to give you some initial guidance and feedback. I want to engage with your ideas and help you shape them and nudge you to improve them for the sake of the upcoming essay. But also I want to give you guidance on your formatting of SIP format and including your MLA citations and all those things, because the things I've chosen, commas, and now SIP and MLA, those are some of the more like complex nitty-gritty skills that you need for success in English 101. And I feel like if we spend weeks just kind of hashing them out, it's just going to set you up for a lot more success with the essay. So as I'm working on creating some of that feedback, what should you be doing? You should open up the book, The Things They Carried, and read the title story. It's the first one. I think it's pages 1 through 23, The Things They Carried. It's the most famous story in the entire book. And you'll be adding your response to that story on Tuesday. When you share that original edit, you will also reply to somebody from Sunday's post. That's kind of going to be the routine, right? You post and you reply by the same deadline. But you can do things in your own time as well, as long as it's ahead of the deadlines there. Okay, so that's all for O'Brien for now. And then I have another fun twist for the week. So the fun twist is that you guys are going to read A Piece of My Heart, which is a play by Shirley Lauro. And this play, some of you, I got at least one email that somebody doesn't have the book and they thought the bookstore wasn't going to have it in until the 17th of October. I don't know what broadly your guys' experiences are, but on Friday I was like, aggressively communicating with the bookstore to ensure that we can do this week. And they said they have copies right now. So if anybody still hasn't gotten their book, get it, because you're going to read Act 1 by Thursday. And just heads up, okay, let's see here. Yeah, Act 1 by Thursday. And then by Sunday, you'll finish Act 2 and you'll watch, it's a shorter act, so you'll also watch a 40-minute documentary. The play is obviously fiction, the documentary is nonfiction. It's a really nice pairing to just validate the truth and story truth, blurring of the lines. Let me give you a sum of your deadlines, but I will also let you know that as I speak it in this video, it will also be typed below. It will also be reiterated in the modules, in the instructions. It will also be in the calendar. I like to put my due dates everywhere. Okay, so by Tuesday, reply to somebody's post from Sunday. Good form and how to tell a true war story. And then read The Things They Carried, the first short story, and add your response to that. Then, by Thursday, reply to someone's The Things They Carried, but read Act 1 of A Piece of My Heart. That's all. By Sunday, reply to someone's Act 1 and post your Act 2 and response to the short documentary. That's the sum of the week. Deadlines are everywhere. Since I'm having you read a play, I want to give a little bit of like a quick lecture. Like I said, I'm going to read off my screen here to help you with that task. So if you've never read a play before, or if it's been a while, like high school, I expect the experience to be slow at the start. So if you feel frustrated at first, that's pretty normal, but then it should get really smooth actually in a matter of time. I think probably within the first 40 pages, then you're going to be cruising. And I hope that you'll experience what I did, which is that you just start reading actually rather fast. The trickiest part of reading a play is getting comfortable with the formatting and then tracking the characters successfully. So formatting of a play, you're going to see that since it's dialogue, you get like people's names in caps at the start of their line. So that's how we know that Steele is speaking and Leanne is speaking and onward. And obviously there are going to be cues, like they're beginning to move toward airplane platform. So it's telling you on stage, where are they going? What are they doing? What are they wearing? Is there music playing? That kind of thing. That's the main thing you need to know here. For myself, I usually create a page-sized bookmark where I write down the characters' names as they appear, and then I add details about those characters as I go until I feel like I have a good sense of who is who. Because if right off the bat they're just like, Steele says this and Leanne says that, and you're like, which one was the guitar player? It gets a little frustrating. After, like I said, probably 10 pages, you kind of know who the characters are, and that will help. But this little bookmark can be handy. I just put their names, physical descriptions of them, and then things that I think that are important. But you can do it your way. You can grab a napkin, a Post-it note. You can jot it down on a piece of notebook paper on the side. This is the number one strategy for success that I've come up with for myself. Okay, so after a while, you'll realize you don't need to read every name at the start of a line of dialogue. Certain scenes are back and forth between two characters. You'll almost like hear or see this in your head. Other scenes are fast-paced rants with contributions from all characters. So what's being said is going to shine forth more than who said it. It'll be like sitting at a rambunctious dinner table and somebody saying like, and this, and then do you remember that? And then that happened. And the story will be what matters. You'll get a sense for that. On page 19, you'll notice that when after Sissy, she's a character, after she speaks, there's a directive line that says, she, Sissy, runs to Martha, who becomes her mother. Together they hurry to another area. So Sissy runs to Martha, and Martha becomes Sissy's mother. Instead of casting a person to play every single role in the story, Shirley Laura uses the characters who are already on stage to fill in the missing roles. So this is much like when you might be telling a story and you say to your friend, okay, just you be the teacher for a second. Just be the teacher. And then you walk up and you deliver your line. So they're doing that kind of thing. They're role playing in order to just do some storytelling. There will be two words that you will primarily see to indicate when this is happening. Like the example, Sissy, she runs to Martha, who becomes is one of the word, becomes her mother. Or it might say something like, Martha becoming the sergeant, and then Martha's line as the sergeant. The other word you'll see is as. So there's another page where it says Whitney. That's a character, parentheses, as recruiting officer. So that means the line she's going to deliver is her pretending to be the recruiting officer, not her as Whitney. This is going to be heavy-handed. When I first started, was like, huh? And it starts on page 19, as far as I jotted down in my notes, and it goes on for the next 20 pages approximately. But that's the bulkiest part of the whole thing, and it does lighten up and become more straightforward. And I think you might actually have an easier experience with it just because I've explained it thus far. Why, Amber, why are you making me read a play? Tim O'Brien argues that story truth, if you recall from these short stories we just finished, is truer than the facts of the story because it allows you, as the storyteller, to convey the truth of how something felt or the weight of it. And I think that that's the whole point, that Laura's story in its fictional form captures the truth of what it felt like. It summarizes the bulk of experiences that we've captured through oral history and whatnot to really present something that you can't get from something else. I think when you watch the Vietnam Nurses documentary, you'll see how the two really come together to create something that is emotional and also logical and has credibility, not just as art, but as truth, and that you'll get a really nice myriad. And you'll learn something, I believe, that you didn't know before. And that's why I loved reading this play, because I just, even innocently, was like, I did not know women went to the Vietnam War. And even if somebody would have told me they went as nurses, I could have never imagined what that nurse experience might have actually been like for them. So keep that in mind, how the two stories come together, how O'Brien's intentions as an artistic storyteller combine with Laurel's, and how they really do illuminate truths, even though they are creative works. That's all I have for you guys this morning. I hope you have an excellent week, and email me if you have any questions.